The first time she called me her niece in front of someone else, I nearly dropped the teacup. I wish I could tell you this was all some kind of prank, that I lost a bet, or it was just a silly game we played one rainy afternoon and forgot the next day. But that wouldn't be the truth. The truth is, I wasn't supposed to enjoy any of it. At first, it was just curiosity. Nothing more. A quiet, private moment, standing in front of my sister's full-length mirror while she was away at work. I was staying with her after the divorce, my life packed into 2 suitcases and a cardboard box of shame I didn't dare open in front of anyone. That box had been with me since college. Inside, a pair of soft black tights, 2 dresses I'd bought on clearance years ago but never wore, and a wig that had lost its shine. I don't know why I held on to them. Maybe part of me knew, even then, that this wasn't just a phase. It was a quiet afternoon. Rain tapping against the window. She was out with friends. I told myself I'd just try something on, just for a minute, just to feel something again. I didn't hear the door open. I didn't hear her footsteps down the hall. But I'll never forget the sound of her voice behind me. Wow! I froze. In her room, wearing her favorite burgundy sweater dress, my legs in those worn-out tights, face halfway done with the cheap drugstore makeup I'd been hiding for months. She didn't yell. She didn't laugh. She didn't say anything for a long second. I turned, trembling, like a teenager caught sneaking out, and tried to explain, but no words came out. Just air. Just shame. Her eyes softened. Is this something you've done before? I nodded. Barely. And then something happened I wasn't ready for. She stepped closer, touched my cheek with the back of her hand, and said something I'll never forget. You're actually kind of pretty like this. I could have collapsed. I felt dizzy. Not because of what she said, but because of how good it felt to hear it. To be seen. Not judged. Not ridiculed. Just seen. I begged her not to tell anyone. She promised. And when she asked if I wanted help getting everything right, the makeup, the hair, even my voice, I wanted to say no. I should have said no. But I didn't. The next day, she bought me a pair of shoes. The day after that, she taught me how to walk in them. Then came the name. Natalie. She said it suited me. She promised it was all temporary. Just a little fun, she smiled. Just between us. But something was changing. In her eyes. In mine. Every time I dressed, it felt more real. And every time she complimented me, I wanted more. And then came the moment that shattered the illusion. She had friends over. I stayed quiet in my room, dressed, made up, hair brushed and curled, because she said it helped me stay in character. I was just playing along. That's what I told myself. But then I heard it. Her voice, carrying down the hallway. Oh, that's just my pretty niece. She's a little shy. I heard laughter. Light, casual. But in that moment I couldn't breathe. Because I realized something terrifying. She didn't say it by accident. I didn't come out of my room for the rest of the evening. I just sat there, fully dressed, fully made up, staring at my reflection in the mirror like I didn't know who I was anymore. My lips still painted soft pink. My legs crossed automatically now. My hands rested delicately in my lap, not like they used to, not like his hands, but like someone else's. Like hers. Like Natalie's. She knocked once. I didn't answer. A minute later, the door creaked open anyway. They're gone, she said softly, carrying a cup of chamomile tea like nothing had happened. She sat next to me on the bed, her expression unreadable. She didn't ask why I hadn't come out. She didn't apologize. She just handed me the tea and let the silence stretch between us. You're upset, she said eventually. Not as a question. A fact. I nodded. You told them, I whispered. You said I was your niece. She didn't flinch. I did. You promised. I know. Her voice stayed gentle. And I meant it when I said it. But you looked so right. I wasn't lying, you know. When I called you pretty, my chest tightened. I should have felt angry. Violated. I did in a way. But mostly I felt exposed. Like something private had been cracked open, held up to the light. I wrapped my arms around myself. I'm not your niece, I murmured. She tilted her head. Then who are you? The question sat there, heavy. I didn't answer. I couldn't. So she tried again. Let me ask a different question. When you look at yourself like this, not when you think, But when you feel, who do you become? I bit my lip. My eyes burned, and I looked away, but the truth was already surfacing. I'd spent years avoiding it, hiding it behind jobs, relationships, excuses. I don't know, I whispered. She placed a hand on mine. It doesn't scare me, whoever she is, but I think it scares you. I swallowed. She wasn't wrong. I've wanted this for a long time, I admitted, but I didn't think I was allowed, or that it would ever be more than a fantasy. And now, I don't know where the line is anymore. She nodded slowly, her eyes still soft. There doesn't have to be a line. Just one honest step at a time. We sat like that for a long time. No rush. No pressure. Just two people sitting in the middle of a quiet turning point. I didn't feel judged. I felt understood. Finally, I asked the question I hadn't dared ask until then. Do you think there's something wrong with me? She smiled and shook her head. No, sweet girl. I think there's finally something right. That night, I didn't take the makeup off. Even after brushing my teeth. Even after pulling on a robe. I stood in the bathroom, staring at my reflection, mascara slightly smudged, lipstick a little faded, and I couldn't bring myself to undo it. It wasn't just about liking the way I looked. It was something deeper. Something quieter. Like I'd been pretending to be someone else my whole life and had finally caught a glimpse of the real me underneath. The next morning, Natalie greeted me with two things: coffee and a folded pink sweater. Put it on, she said with a small smile. And come downstairs when you're ready. I opened my mouth to protest, but I didn't. I just looked at the sweater. Soft, warm, gentle. And I nodded. That was the real beginning. It started slowly. A borrowed skirt here, a little coaching there. Natalie had this gentle, almost nurturing way of guiding me, like she knew exactly how far to push and when to pull back. Relax your shoulders. No, not stiff, soft, fluid. Try leading with your hips when you walk. Let your arms swing a little more loosely. She'd stand behind me at the mirror, gently adjusting my posture, lifting my chin, tucking a strand of wig hair behind my ear. There she is, she'd whisper. And every time she said it, something inside me unfolded a little more. There were little milestones. Small but huge. The first time I shaved my legs. The first time I let her thread my eyebrows. The first time I wore a bra with actual padding and stared at my silhouette in the mirror for what felt like forever. She gave me a name, too. We were trying on dresses one afternoon, and she held up a pale blue one with ruffles on the sleeves. This one's so you, she said, handing it over. Come on, Emily. I paused. Emily. She smiled like it had always been obvious. It just fits, doesn't it? It did. Emily. I tried saying it out loud when I was alone. I whispered it into the mirror. I tested it in my thoughts when I was drifting off to sleep. It sounded right, maybe even more than my old name ever had. One afternoon, Natalie took me shopping. You can't live in my closet forever, she said. It's time you picked out things that feel like you. I was terrified, but she held my hand the whole time. We went to a quiet boutique on the edge of town, the kind where everything smells like lavender and the mannequins wear sundresses. I found a soft mauve cardigan, a pair of white ballet flats, and a little silver pendant in the shape of a heart. Natalie insisted I try them on together. The saleswoman smiled at me as I stepped out of the dressing room. You look lovely, dear. I blushed so hard I nearly turned back around, but Natalie beamed. Told you, she whispered. You're becoming real. I felt it too. I wasn't pretending anymore. I was becoming. Back home, she helped me learn how to do my own makeup. Foundation first, then concealer, then the careful sweep of blush across the cheeks. Not too much. Just enough to look like you slept well and have a secret. She taught me how to paint my nails, how to sit with one leg tucked beneath the other, how to giggle without forcing it. Sometimes we'd stay up late watching movies, old rom-coms or makeover scenes, and she'd nudge me during certain moments and say, "That's so you." And I started to believe it. I started to feel it. There was a moment, maybe a few weeks into it all, when I caught my reflection in passing, just a flash in a hallway mirror, and for the first time I didn't flinch. I smiled, because I saw her. I saw Emily. But just as I began to feel safe, something shifted. There was a different tone in Natalie's voice sometimes. Playful, but firmer. Like she wasn't just helping me explore anymore, she was guiding me. shaping me. And I didn't resist. In fact, part of me leaned into it. "Emily," she said one evening, brushing out the wig on its stand, "you do realize this isn't pretend anymore, right?" I hesitated. "What do you mean?" "This isn't dress up. You're not borrowing someone else's identity. You're stepping into your own." "But what if I'm not ready?" "You already are," she said. "You just haven't accepted how beautiful you've become." And then she leaned in, eyes locked with mine. "Soon, everyone will see what I see." It started with small things. Natalie no longer asked. She told, "You'll wear the floral dress tonight, Emily. It matches your mood. Don't forget your perfume. The one in the pink bottle, it's your scent now." She'd adjust the strap of my bra with a kind of practiced tenderness, but there was a flicker of authority behind her smile. A gentle dominance. I felt like clay in her hands, warm, soft, ready to be shaped. And I let her. I wanted to be shaped. But some nights, when I lay in bed staring at the ceiling with mascara still on, I wondered, who was I becoming? It wasn't fear, exactly. It was exposure. Vulnerability. I'd become so reliant on her. Her voice, her touch, her praise. When she'd leave for work in the morning, I'd linger at the window just a little too long. When she texted me to be a good girl today, my stomach fluttered. And when she didn't text, I'd spiral. "You okay?" I asked one night as she sat scrolling through her phone. "Why wouldn't I be?" she replied, not looking up. "I don't know. You've been quiet." She finally glanced at me, her eyes cool, unreadable. "You're getting needy, Em." Something about that stung. But she wasn't wrong. I was needy. Needy for her approval. Her attention. Her instructions. I'd gone from hiding dresses in a box to needing someone to tell me what to wear. Who to be. And then came the first photo. It was a soft Sunday morning. She had me in a pale blue dress, white tights, and a dainty pink bow clipped into my wig. I was sitting by the window, sunlight catching the shimmer in my lip gloss, when I heard the shutter click. "What are you doing?" I asked, turning my head sharply. "Capturing how pretty you've become." She held up her phone, a perfect photo of me, delicate, dreamy, undeniably feminine. "Please don't," I whispered. "What if someone sees?" "Who cares?" she said, smirking. "You should be seen, Emily. You need to be." I froze. That word, need, had started slipping into her sentences more and more, as if she wasn't suggesting anymore. She was declaring. Over time, the power dynamic between us shifted completely. I wasn't choosing outfits anymore. She laid them out. I wasn't fixing my makeup alone. She stood behind me, correcting my hand, raising my chin. Even my voice, she'd begun coaching me, softening my tone, reshaping my speech. "No more mumbling," she said one morning. "Speak clearly. And when someone calls you miss, you smile and say, 'Yes, ma'am.'" "Understood." I nodded, breathless. It wasn't that I didn't want this. I did. But some part of me feared how much I wanted it. Then came the incident at the cafe. We were out, just the two of us. I was in a cute skirt and cardigan combo, sipping tea, trying not to tremble. Natalie was smiling that secret smile she wore whenever she had a plan. When the waiter came, he paused and looked at me. "And for you, miss?" My heart stopped. I blinked. Before I could answer, Natalie chimed in. "She'll have the lemon tart." The waiter nodded politely and walked away. I stared at her. "Why did you say?" "Because it's what you wanted." I swallowed. "But he called me miss." "Did he know?" "Of course he did," she said. "It's obvious." I blushed deep red, looking down at my lap. "Emily," she added gently, "why are you embarrassed?" "Because I'm not, I mean. I still don't. You are. You're my niece. My pretty, precious niece. And you need to own it." The words wrapped around me like silk and steel. Soft but binding. That night I cried. Not out of sadness or shame, but out of release. I didn't know who I was without her anymore. And maybe that was the scariest part. There was a quiet war inside me. One part wanted to step back, regain some control, remember the before. But another part, the deeper, more vulnerable part, wanted to give in completely, to surrender to the softness. To her. One night, she had me kneel at her feet. There was no context, no explanation. She was painting her nails, legs crossed, wine glass nearby. "Come here, Em," she said, patting the floor. I obeyed. She tilted my chin up with her foot. "You know," she said casually, "when I first saw your little stash of clothes in that box, I never thought it'd go this far." "Me neither," I whispered. "But I'm glad it did," she said. "You've bloomed into something so beautiful, so obedient." I didn't respond. I didn't have to. My silence, my posture said it all. I was hers now, and I think I loved it. It all came to a head the day Natalie's friend Claire came over. I didn't know she was coming. Natalie didn't warn me. I was in full outfit, a soft pink skater dress with a white lace trim, matching flats and pearl clip-on earrings. My wig was curled, my lips were glossy, and I had just painted my nails a shimmery nude. I was dusting the bookshelf, humming softly to myself when I heard the doorbell ring. Natalie called out, "Emily, sweetie, can you get that?" I froze. Sweetie. She never used that word when others were around. Not like that. I hesitated, but the bell rang again, louder this time. Slowly, carefully, I padded over and opened the door. There stood Claire, tall, elegant, sharp-eyed. She looked me up and down, blinking. "Oh, hello," she said. "You must be Emily." My heart thudded against my ribs. Hi, I stammered. "You didn't tell me your niece was staying with you," Claire called over her shoulder as she stepped inside. I turned to Natalie, wide-eyed. She just smiled, calm, composed, sipping her tea on the sofa. "Didn't I?" she said sweetly. "She's been such a lovely little helper lately." Claire's eyes sparkled with interest as she glanced back at me. "She's adorable," she said. "Very obedient looking." The air shifted. My legs felt weak. I looked at Natalie. She didn't break eye contact. "Show Claire your curtsy, Emily," she said. I thought she was joking. My lips parted, about to protest, but something in her expression stopped me. So I did it. I curtsied, right there in front of Claire, cheeks burning, my fingers pinching the hem of my dress as I dipped politely. Claire laughed, not cruelly, but amused, delighted. "Oh, she's precious. You trained her well." Trained. That word echoed in my chest like a secret spoken out loud. The afternoon blurred into something surreal. Claire stayed. They talked. They laughed. And I was presented. They commented on my posture, my outfit, the way I poured tea. I was spoken about, rather than spoken to, like a pet or a showpiece. And the strangest part, I liked it. Every compliment, every giggle between them, every instruction Natalie gave me, it fed something in me I didn't know I was hungry for. "Spin around for Claire," she said at one point. "Let her see how the dress flares." And I did. I spun. And they clapped. Then came the photo. Again. Claire pulled out her phone. "May I?" I looked at Natalie. She nodded. I didn't resist. Claire snapped the photo, me in that dress, hair just right, eyes lowered in quiet submission. "She's going to melt hearts online," she said casually. My head whipped up. "Wait, what do you mean online?" Claire tilted her head, smirking. "Didn't she tell you? There's a whole page. You're already kind of a little internet darling." I felt the world tilt. "What page?" Natalie looked almost apologetic, almost. "It started small. Just a few private posts. But people adored you. I never used your real name, of course." My stomach dropped. My knees trembled. You posted me?" "Only the pretty ones," she said gently. "And only the ones where you looked happy." Which, let's be honest, was most of them. Claire chuckled. "You should see the comments. Everyone just loves your soft little eyes. Someone called you a porcelain flower. Isn't that sweet?" I couldn't breathe. Half of me wanted to scream, to run, to hide. The other half melted. I imagined those strangers, watching, admiring, knowing. They saw her. Not me from before. Not the scared, closeted version. Her. Emily. Later that night, after Claire left, I confronted Natalie. "Why didn't you tell me?" She looked up from her book, calm. "Because I knew you'd panic. And then do it anyway." I glared. "That's not fair." She set her book down. "No, it's not. But it's true." I didn't know what to say. She stood up, walked over to me, and cupped my face in her hands. "You belong to this now, Emily. Whether you admit it or not." But I didn't choose. You did. Every time you asked me to help you. Every time you blushed when I called you pretty. Every time you obeyed. You chose this. I shook my head, tears pooling in my eyes. But everyone sees me now. She leaned closer, her lips nearly brushing mine. And they adore you. Her kiss was soft, but final, like the seal on a letter that had already been sent. The next morning, I woke up to a new post. A photo of me kneeling in front of her vanity, brushing out my wig with care. Captioned, "My precious niece Emily. Always so eager to please." Comments were already pouring in. "Speech balloon, she's perfection." "Speech balloon, look at those dainty hands." "Speech balloon, does she know we can all see her now?" I scrolled through them, fingers trembling. And then I did something I never thought I would. I liked the post. And just like that, I stopped hiding. Stopped pretending this was temporary. I wasn't just dressing up anymore. I was Emily. They're Emily. I thought that moment, liking the post, accepting it, would be the scariest part. But it wasn't. The scariest part was how natural it felt afterward. Like all the walls I'd built were made of air all along. And now that they'd fallen, I could finally breathe. Natalie didn't push much after that. She didn't need to. I woke up each day wanting to slip into something soft and pretty. I styled my wig before brushing my teeth. I even started working on my voice, not because she told me to, but because I wanted to sound like the girl I saw in the mirror. One afternoon, while I was helping Natalie fold laundry, she paused with a thoughtful look on her face. "You know," she said, "Mom's birthday is next week." I nodded, carefully pairing a set of lavender socks. "We're doing the usual family brunch. Claire's coming, too." I smiled a little. "She's nice." "She is," Natalie agreed. "And she keeps asking about you." I paused. "She does. She wants to know if my pretty niece will be there." The socks slipped from my fingers. "Natalie, I can't. Not with them. Not with Mom." "Why not?" Because they know me. The old me." She looked at me calmly. "Do they?" I didn't respond. "Emily," she said softly, using my name with such gentleness that it almost broke me. "Do you want to go?" I didn't speak. I couldn't. My throat tightened as the question settled over me. Did I want to? I imagined it. Walking into the brunch in a soft blouse, maybe a pleated skirt. Hair curled, cheeks glowing. Being introduced as Natalie's niece. Not brother, not cousin, not anything else. Just Emily. My stomach flipped. My heart raced. I was terrified, but I nodded. "Yes." She smiled. "Then we'll pick something perfect." The night before the brunch, I barely slept. My mind raced with what-ifs. What if someone recognized me? What if they laughed? What if they looked at me with pity? But none of that mattered by morning. Because when I stepped out of the bedroom, dressed in a soft white sundress with baby blue sandals and a delicate silver necklace, Natalie beamed. "You're beautiful," she whispered. "You made me this way," I replied, voice barely audible. "No," she said, adjusting a curl behind my ear. "You were always this way. I just helped you see it." I smiled. We arrived fashionably late. The restaurant buzzed with low chatter and clinking glasses. The moment I walked in behind Natalie, I felt eyes turn. Some curious, some surprised. And then, "Emily," a voice said. I turned. It was Claire, stunning, as always, holding a mimosa. "You came." I nodded, unsure if I could speak. She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "They're not ready for you." "Is that a good thing?" I whispered back. She smiled. "It's the best thing." Natalie took my hand and guided me to the table where her mother, cousin, and a few other relatives sat. Conversation slowed as we approached. "Everyone," she said clearly, "this is my niece, Emily." The silence hung. Then her mother blinked, tilted her head, and offered a kind smile. "Well, aren't you darling?" The moment felt unreal. Surreal. Like I was living in someone else's life. But it wasn't someone else's. It was mine. Later, after brunch, after too many compliments, too much lemonade, and a little champagne, I found myself standing alone on the balcony, watching the cars below. Claire joined me, setting her glass beside mine. "You handled that well," she said. I nodded. "You're stronger than you think," she added. Or dumber, I said with a breathy laugh. She chuckled, then turned serious. Natalie, she's proud of you. She talks about you like you're a little masterpiece she helped paint. I blushed. And me, Claire said slowly, brushing a hair off my shoulder. I think you're just getting started. I turned toward her, eyes wide. There's someone I want you to meet, she continued. Who? She smiled, a smile that made my stomach flutter. He's curious, very curious about you. I swallowed. Does he know? Not yet, she said. But he's open. And he's already seen your pictures. My pulse quickened. Natalie showed him? No, Claire said. I did. Why? She leaned closer, her lips grazing my ear. Because he asked if I had a niece, and I told him, oh, she's gorgeous. My breath hitched. I turned back to the view, heart racing. And then I heard it behind me. Heels. Approaching. Click, click, click. And then, a voice. Deep. Curious. So, this is the pretty niece. I didn't turn around. Not yet. Because I knew. If I did, something in my life would change forever. Instead, I looked at Claire. She winked. And whispered, Go on. Curtsy. And then he said my name. But not the one I was born with. The one I had become. Emily. To be continued.